Hello guys and welcome back. And as you can see, we've got quite a bit further from the last video. I think the last time I left you watching paint dry. So yep, we've got the lower battery modules in the cubby hole underneath are installed, connected, BMS wires in, temperature sensors in, and so on. All of that is done. And also the connections in the fuel tank box. But for today we're going to concentrate on getting the lower connections done and the BMS connections done. So that's what this one's about, so stick around. So with any luck guys, this will be the last time yeah right, that we put this lot down here. What I need to do now is, I've already got these two battery modules linked, so what I need to do is attach wires to the other two ends. These two are linked here, these two are linked here, so just need to put tails on to bring them up into the top battery box. And I've already got those made up. These are the ones we're going to use. So I have the two main feeds coming out. These are going to come up through a hole in the bottom of the big box. And I've also put in the connections for the BMS. Now one thing that I was slightly concerned about was the issue about BMS connections not being fused. In this particular instance I'm not too concerned, and the reason for that is in here. Although the BMS wires are not actually fused as such, they are connected through these connectors. I'll just show you this little connector there, but they're connected in those connectors over a PCB, and the PCB has really fine tracks, so fine that I'm fairly almost 100% certain that should two BMS wires short out, they'll blow the track on the PCB. So that's why I'm not too concerned about fusing them. The wires are not going directly to the battery modules themselves. They're going to a PCB in the top, and then via very small tracks into the actual battery modules themselves. So what I need to do now is to tip this up so that we don't cause any issues, like shorting out issues. And just do this one as well to be sure, because although there's not a very high voltage there, it's only 4 times 4, 616, 16 volts. No, 30 volts or so. The voltage isn't that high. If they were to touch, it would be bad. So that should be okay. They should go in through the bottom without any problem. Now I just need to connect up our BMS wires. And to do that, I am using some of this stuff, and this is microphone cable. Microphone cable is rated up to something like 50 volts, I think, and because to power, you can actually send phantom power down the cable to power a microphone, and therefore it has to be well insulated. Now the other thing I've done is I've put numbers on to represent the modules, the number that these modules are going to be in the pack, but these are going to be modules 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84 is what the module numbers these are going to be, and that will become relevant when I go to put them into the BMS. So I need to keep a track of that. I very nearly did a stupid thing there, guys. I was just about to start plugging the BMS connections into the batteries, and then cut it to length. That's a bad idea. Don't ever do that. This would then have been live, and I would have been cutting into a live cable. Okay, it's only live with 60 volts, but that's still enough to blow a hole in your cutters, possibly melt your wires, and maybe blow the tracks on your PCB. Anyway, whatever, it would have been not very sensible. So don't ever cut your cable when it's connected to the batteries at the other end. That's not sensible. Okay guys, well, as you can see, we have done a little bit more here in the back of the car, in the boot, not trunk, boot, because we're not in the United States or North America, we're in the UK stroke Ireland. So this is a boot, not a trunk. Anyway, we have a little bit more done. As you can see, I have the BMS wires connected, and they're going up into the microphone cable, and so they're going through the microphone cable, and at the other end they're going into the actual connectors that will be going into the BMS. Now, as you can see, a lot of these other connectors all need to be cut off, and this is how we've connected the wires from the microphone cable are coming into the BMS wires. Now, I know this looks like a mess, I know it looks complicated, and it is, but I think it's logical. Just follow one wire at a time. So I think it's correct, and I'll take you through how I've checked it as soon as I get the top on here and get it bolted in. So pretty much ready to go to put the top box on. Just wanted to mention, I've also put in gobs of hot glue to hold temperature sensors. So I've got a temperature sensor here, and I've got another temperature sensor down, basically sort of touching the metalwork down here. Are they in the correct places? Probably not, but they will hopefully give enough of an indication of battery temperature that between the two of them we'll have some idea of what the actual temperature of these batteries is. I suspect without getting the sensor right down in between the modules, sort of down in between there, it's not really going to be any way we can be 100% correct on this. I guess I maybe could have put one down there. How do you get it right? How do you know? Not sure. But hopefully that'll give some sort of an indication of temperature anyway. So we've got temperature sensors, we've got BMS connections, and I've just cable tied them so they're not going to bounce around and rattle about in the boot of my car. And these are taped up so they're safe. So the next step now is to slide the big box over, put it on top, and get these wires up through and settled, and then screw it down. I need to get this pulled back and these put up through the hole. Basically put it in the location where it's going to be. Right there. Yep, that's about right. So I'll probably bring the temperature sensors out on this side so they're somewhere close to the BMS, but I can worry about that later. Bolts are all in here. By the way guys, here's something I don't know if I've mentioned before or not, but this is one of the most useful, well, I'll get you the set. These are probably the most useful tools I have ever bought in my entire life. Really, really, really useful. And what they are is they're adapters to allow you to put sockets onto a 1/4 inch impact driver or standard drill. And how they work is you put that end into your impact driver, 1/4 inch impact driver, and just fire your socket on top. So now you've got a power tool for your sockets. Invaluable, absolutely invaluable. You've no idea how handy these things are when you're crawling around under the car and you just want to get a bolt out nice and quick and easy. These are superb for that, and for adapting down to a drill or a 1/4 inch impact driver. So I'll put a link. These particular ones are Amtech. Now, I don't even know if they still exist as a company because I bought these so long ago, at least 10 years ago and probably more. But I'll put a link to where you can get something similar in the description below, along with a lot of other things. I normally put links into my descriptions. They are affiliate links, which means if you click on them and make a purchase, I will get a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything more. So, you know, it's not like it's going to cost you more by clicking on the link. Yeah, have a look, and if you don't have these, they're so cheap. They're only about £3 or £4. Unbelievable value for how useful they are. I promise you, you will never regret buying these things. Anyway, we get this bolted in. As you can see, I'm using thick washers to hold, as you get, provide a bit of strength. It's always a good idea to start bolts by hand before you put a power tool anywhere near them, because then you know they're in the threads correctly, and you're not going to strip the threads out if you go at it with a power tool. See what I mean about how handy these are? Right. Okay, so that's in nice and solid. Everything is okay, I think. Yeah, nothing is nipping. That's good. Right. Now I'll try and explain what I've done here with this BMS wiring. It's not easy, but it's absolutely critical that it's got right, because if I don't get it right, yeah, something will go bang. So basically what I've done is I have drawn out a diagram of the boot of the car. Put solder on it too. So I've printed out a photograph of the boot of the car, and then drawn out underneath and above. These are the 4 small battery modules that are under the floor here, and these are the 4 large modules which are in the fuel tank area. So I haven't got those cabled up yet. I just I wanted to get this battery box in position and the battery modules in. So what I wanted to do was, obviously the BMS connections had to be made before I put this on. So what I've done is I have dug out the BMS loom that I made up a while back. This was used for testing purposes about 10 or 15 videos ago, about 2 years ago. So, and I have on my phone the numbers for the connectors, which is this one is LB15 is the one we're working with. That is this connector. And I've worked out from this that we're talking about cell numbers 77 to 84. So that's the cell numbers in those 4 modules underneath. So cell numbers 77 to 84 correspond to connector LB15 that goes into the leaf BMS, and these are the 77, 78, 9, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84. So those are the connectors that's going into in this. And what I did was, these are all previously labeled. So I just cut the wire about here, and then cut the wire at the other end, and then moved that number onto this end of the wire so they can get an exact idea of what I'm doing. It is pretty complicated. It's hurting my head even thinking about it, but I think fairly sure that that should be okay. I'll put some the felt tape. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, I'll put some felt tape over this to tidy it all up and make it a bit safer. But that is how we are getting the connection to the BMS. But I want to get the battery modules in first, and then make decisions as to how I'm going to get the cables to the BMS. I think over here would be the best place for the BMS, because over here is going to be lots of connections all to do with the contactors and fuses and such. So yeah, I think I'll do it that way. But in any case, what I need to do now is get this bundle of cables out of the way and get the batteries in. Okay guys, so when I have the battery box in the cubby hole, it's all sorted out. I think it's complete. I have the connections coming up out of there. I'm going into this battery module and this one here. So the way the batteries are connected, this will be the most negative, and then it's just a series link. It goes through here into this battery, through here, down into the 4 below, back up again to this one, through here, along there, up into there, and along to there. Now at some stage I'm going to have to break somewhere along here, probably between here and here. I need to break the connection for the fuel tank battery box, so it will break into there. So the signal will, or the path, current path will be through here, off into the fuel tank battery box, back up again, and then through here. So I'm now in a position where I can finish off this battery box, but there's no point at this stage. What I'll do is I will start and get the fuel tank battery box, get the battery modules into it, get the BMS connections connected, and then bring them up to here, and I'll bring the BMS connections in and patch them into this loom. I was stupid, I made this cable far too long, and as you can see, it's way too long. I don't know what I was thinking. I think actually I was thinking I would have to go off this direction and then back round, and I just changed my mind and brought it straight through here. As you can see, I made a hole here for it, and I have it lined. I couldn't find the stuff I ordered for lining holes, so all I did was I took some 3-core flex, sliced right down the edge of the 3-core flex, and then just to split the outer insulation and put it on there. So So now what I need to do is to sort out the fuel tank battery box. That's next on the agenda. So guys, apologies for the clear as mud explanation as to how the BMS wiring is done, but basically it's a matter of ensuring that the cell number, as in cell number 96543 and so on, goes to the correct location in these plugs. And how I achieved that was just by using the original Nissan Leaf wiring diagrams and plugs and so on. So that's how I managed to figure that all out. Whether I've got it 100% right, we'll know later on. But what I can do is I can use a very sharp tip on the end of my multimeter and put it into the most negative, I can't remember which socket it is, but it's one of them. Put it into the most negative pin of the socket, and then just move the other probe right along the sockets, basically following the connections right along to ensure that the voltage just goes up by the correct amount, 3.7 volts or whatever it is each time. And then that's how I checked the last time, so I'll have to go through that all again. It's a pain, but it's one of those things. If I was to get one of these wires crossed, or two of these wires crossed over so they were in the wrong position, the BMS would go bang, and that would be a very bad thing because they're not exactly cheap. So anyhow, the fuel tank battery box I'm going to leave to another video because this one's gone on long enough. And yeah, hopefully by the time we're finished here, then we'll have this whole back part of the car completely finished, bar making these wee links and I guess putting in the fuses and so on. But that, I've done all that before, so I know how to do all that. That's relatively simple. So then the next step would be to start and get the front of the car finished. But for now, the next step is the fuel tank battery box, and that'll be the next video. Hopefully that's been of interest to you. Please check the links in the description below. Like I said, those links are affiliate links. I do get a small commission if you click on a link and then make a purchase, but it doesn't cost you a penny more. So it's just one way of supporting the channel. So thanks for watching, catch you in the next one, and bye for now.